Welcome to this little fireside chat. We are here to try to encourage you to register for the CSC 2023 conference in Canada. It is, especially coming out of the pandemic, an experience that is unsurpassed. I don't think there's anything comparable. And the testimonies that you're going to hear today from the alumni that are on the screen will hopefully make you at least curious. I don't think we'll be able to actually encapsulate what that experience is. You're going to have to sign up and find out for yourself. But everyone here believes that they are different leaders and more effective leaders and more maybe empathetic community members having been to this conference. So I'd just like to kick it off. We'll go around the room and you guys can introduce yourselves and where you're from and what year. But maybe we could start with Cynthia. Cynthia, tell us where you're from, what year you attended, and maybe tell us what was most impactful about the conference.
So I'm probably the oldest alumni on this crew. I was 2003 in representing Australia. Didn't really have a full understanding of what the CSC was, and I was encouraged by an alumni to apply. And honestly, Sybil, I never regret now that decision. The experience of connecting with leaders across the Commonwealth, people representing non-government organisations, unions and business. I happen to be representing business. And I had no idea that in my 30s, I'd be given the opportunity to really understand global leadership and what it means to be part of a global community of leaders. So that's my first message. And it, as Sybil said, it is a unique experience. So a combination of hearing thought leadership from very esteemed leaders, being put into study groups where you get to experience a whole range of site visits that really expose you to all manner of experiences, and you need to come together as a team. So it's a real experiential leadership opportunity. Canada 2023 is set to be an absolutely outstanding program. So I would be encouraging leaders 20 to 30s to put their hand up and apply for this program.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Lisa, you mentioned you had some very outstanding experiences as a group in your conference. Could you tell us a bit about what sets this conference apart from others? Tell us a bit also how you found out about the conference. What convinced you to attend?
Like Cynthia, I found out from an alumni who had participated, I think, in the 70s. And he implored me that this would be like nothing I'd ever experienced. Having been to other leadership workshops and seminars, I was very curious about why he would set it apart from any other kind of leadership. But it really was. It challenged me in ways beyond theory. It really allowed us to see what leadership meant in the global context and from different perspectives. And that was, juxtaposed against meeting in your group with people from different regions, different cultures, different thought processes, and how we all had a contribution to make in solving problems or just bringing a new and different perspective. And I fundamentally believe that is a key element for a good leader, to see outside of your own box and try to apply to be empathetic, one, to other people's experiences, but how that plays into really becoming a good leader.
I'm energized just walking down memory lane with you guys right now. John, can you tell us a bit about what your conference was like, where you're from, what year you attended, but also what was one of the big memories that you took away?
Well, I'm from Australia. I did the 2016 program in Malaysia and India, and then 2017 in the UK and India. I guess probably one of the most impactful memories for me was actually the end of the program, where you were required to be able to present to Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal and to everyone else who had been taking part on the conference. It was the time where we as a study group needed to come together and make sense of all those amazing experiences you've heard so far on this about the experiential learning. Well, this was the time where we had to kind of assimilate all those thoughts and come together and work out what was the meaning behind all of that. and share some of our knowledge with the rest of the group, the broader group, and get to present to Her Royal Highness. It was a very intense time. Our study group was from different parts of the world. We had different perspectives, and then coming together as one was a challenge. But in the end, we were able to overcome that, and that was one of the big learnings about different perspectives, and that in diversity there is actually great unity. So that was probably the most impactful memory for me out of it all.
Yeah, I remember that moment and how candid that space and how seriously, the people who otherwise would be classified as dignitaries really took that moment to listen and to really participate. Ladi, could I bother you to tell us a bit about your experience and how we might convince people who are just a little bit unsure, maybe not quite confident about their own experience yet, and really let them know that this is really for people who want to develop in leadership, who want to figure things out, who are not, who are ready to confront complexity, all those things. Tell us a bit more about your own experience, Ladi.
So I was in the conference in 2014, and we had a phase in London, and then some cities around the UK, and the second leg was in Toronto in Canada, and they were so different and so mind-boggling, encouraging in every sense of the word. So in the UK, for instance, we went to community projects and saw how people were doing things, not just talking the talk, but doing things to influence and make their communities better. And when we went to Canada, it was the same thing. And it was like these two different parts of the world were concerned about their communities, and they were bringing leadership down to the people. And for me, that was really powerful. And if anybody wanted to apply for this and they were doubtful of their credentials as leaders, well, I was one of those that felt that, no, my background was in banking, and then I went into the third sector, and I then stumbled into leadership, to be quite honest. And I just didn't feel that I was quite there. And then to see people who I would ordinarily place on a pedestal being completely vulnerable and expressing the same doubts as I had just encouraged me in no small way. So I would encourage everyone else who are in a leadership position or who think they could be in a leadership position to experience this. You just have to experience it to know how it will influence and how it will change you, because it's changed all of us, to be honest.
Agreed. And I think it's also fair to say that it changed all of us in the way that was appropriate for ourselves. It's sort of, we grew roots in certain areas and we grew in other areas. And I know that, Hayden, you had talked about how that changed you as a leader and the growth you went through as a kind of moment in your career. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Certainly. So my conference experience was in 2016 as well, in Malaysia and in India. I think the study tour aspect of the conference really challenged me personally, but equally challenged the group that I was with. Aside from the travel itself, which obviously exploring and engaging in a new country and culture, and that was refreshing. But equally, it was the people-to-people connectedness within the team, understanding the differences of perspectives from country, from academic discipline, from what part of society they were working in, was really challenging and confronting at times, and that I think built empathy and has made me appreciate different perspectives at a whole new level. So I think if I was speaking to someone who's looking to apply for the CSC program, I'd say this is the opportunity to really propel yourself forward. You will be pushed and challenged, and you might be uncomfortable at times, but I would recommend that you put yourself forward. It was a 100% recommend from me, and it's really been something that I've reflected on regularly throughout the last 6 or 7 years since that time.
That is true, and good for people who aren't familiar with what we say, what we mean by CSC. It's Commonwealth Study Conference, and it was founded in 1956 by the Duke of Edinburgh. It only happens every few years, so take this opportunity. With COVID, there's been a little bit of a gap as well. It is an experience that has really changed people as leaders, but you will also be defining that experience for yourself and defining it for others. So really encourage you to know more about it. Go to the website, CSC 2023, and put your hand up. Come and apply.